Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Poker Face Episode 4, Rust in Metal. This was directed by Tiffany Johnson and written by Christine Boylan. It stars as a special guest star this episode, Chloë Sevigny, and she plays Ruby Ruin, who is the lead singer of this washed up metal band, Doxxxology. Now, this was a pretty long intro for this episode, meaning it took about 20 minutes to get to when we see Charlie, and we hear that great Charlie theme music playing that really sticks and works with the character, which I really like. That's like a motif going on for this show. But yeah, it was a long opening, but I did think it was an enjoyable one. It gave enough time for us to really care about Gavin. Now, Gavin is this character type that is a lovable idiot in a sense, but he's a lot of innocence to him and joy that he just loves this metal music. And they give a nice moment when we get to the Charlie timeline with him too, of where she sees that in him, and it connects to the windshield wipers and the bada da whoosh that pays off at the end, which we'll get to. But I like how they tie in the merch girl and the merch girl song to Charlie, and the reveal being that Charlie is the merch girl. And I actually like the Staplehead song, which is kind of funny. It's very catchy. But like all the episodes of the show have been, there's so many little things planted and interesting reveals later on, even though you know how it happened. It's the way Charlie finds out. You start to see things you might have missed, and then having so many payoffs just set up from the top. Like when you meet Gavin for the first time and he's comes straight from Craigslist, he's talking about how he loves to have this amp for that sick sound effect for his backing vocals. So just from his first sentence, you hear the guy, he's talking about what's going to end up killing him. And they have little big character moments that make someone really unlikable, like someone where you might sympathize with them at first in Ruby, but then when she sucker punches Gavin, you see her true colors start to come out. And little setups too, like Ruby saying in the trailer about the time that Belinda, the drummer, had wrote their original hit song, Staplehead, that they knew that feeling she had when it was a hit, that would come full circle, because when Gavin sings his song to them and plays it, she has that feeling. It's shown through the effect they show. So that was really cool and really hits home on her intentions and why she goes so far as to murder this kid. And a relief to me in this episode was it was the least product placements yet. Thank God, just not as aggressive. The only one that really stood out was the Hot Topic bag, but that was fine. That's the amount I think is totally normal and cool, whatever. Like, where again, I'd said in the past episodes, like with the Subway and the Heineken and the Coors Light, was just way too much, but this was a nice break on that. Now, one thing I actually didn't like, and this might be a bias because I am a drummer myself, is when Gavin talks about he has a foot cam to look at his footwork. I don't know any drummer in my life. I've never had a moment where I've wanted to look at my footwork as a drummer. It's just not necessary. It's all feel, right? I'm never looking down at my feet to see how my foot performance is. It makes sense if maybe they wrote it as like a foot cam to just play in front of the audience, or like something to record for himself to put as an audition, I guess. But it would never be like he said to watch his footwork. That was just not accurate. But another great setup and payoff was Ruby making a joke that Gavin went to Juilliard, but then says he was self-taught and just from Craigslist, but he actually says to Charlie that he did actually study drums at Juilliard. And they also didn't overdo, which I was worried about, where they would constantly do maybe Charlie just catching everything through lies, but they lightly did it here, just with that big lie that got her an inkling into who Ruby was by Ruby saying, I guess we just got lucky to the cop, which was a clear lie, and kind of sucked Charlie's curiosity. I also like that they recorded Sucker Punch, their new hit song, at this WeWork, and it's a nice, clever way for Charlie to meet the Murder Girl podcast, and I like that the Murder Girl podcast came full circle, a very modern way for someone to get caught, and that Charlie can leave the clues there, because remember, she can't work through the police because she's wanted herself. And I also like, which I hadn't said in my review for the last episode, and I forgot to say, but I did miss one effect in the last episode. You don't really see any of Cliff or someone chasing her in the last episode, so it was good they brought that back, because you still want to have things in the overarching main story feel like it's moving along and still have a pressure on Charlie to solve these things a little quicker. So I was happy we got to see Cliff again. I also thought it was really clever that Charlie discovered all of Gavin writing this song through all his goodie bag here. It was really cool and good writing on that. And it was smart they used the Krampus cam to have how Cliff would find where Charlie is. But it was funny, they made kind of a joke of it too with Cliff, because she said, I didn't take you for a TikToker. So that was good. I'm glad they made a joke of that, because that is a little bit of a reach. But what I actually didn't like, and everything in all these episodes, I have been down with how they've shown and revealed things to Charlie. Now this one, like I said, it wasn't realistic with him why he would have the foot cam for a drummer. But the biggest one to me this episode was I thought it was actually too much the other way. It was too easy, where you had the guitarist Al singing that he murdered somebody. I thought that was just like, I get he's an idiot, Al, and it's funny, but I thought that was too much of a leeway to Charlie, like too easy. I want Charlie to still have a little bit of a challenge. It's the only one so far that just felt too easy for me. I think they could have left that out. I think you had enough with Al being an idiot with the eBay and her getting enough from the eBay items. And also even the little things like Al having the tape higher, and that's how she knew something was off in the photo she took on his mic stand. And I like how they did the whole heavy shoes she found through the foot cam, and that these YouTubers and their fans would be the ones, or older audiences say, to find out that Sucker Punch was actually a ripoff of the Benson theme song, which pays off from Gavin watching Benson on the iPad in the trailer. So that was really clever too, that he wasn't even being fully original. And I had mentioned before, but I do really, really love when a show just comes at a nice bow at the end, and that Bada Bush with Charlie and having that have the windshield wipers be the end credits was great. I thought that was such a nice touch, and probably my favorite like wrap of an episode so far. Now I think the performances were all great in this episode, and Chloë Sevigny always brings it and does great here per usual, and a good casting of her. I liked Al. I was a little skeptical though about the acting of the bass player. Didn't think he was so great in this part, unfortunately, but I thought the Gavin was really good, and it's a solid episode. It's not my favorite of the season, but it still keeps that quality going, right, where so many setups and payoffs. Charlie's just as likable as ever and fun to watch. Natasha Lyonne is all the credit to that, and it's just solid. It's tight, right? Like, it's just a tight show, which is really good. So I'm giving this one an 8.4, but I don't think when we look at the whole season, this would be one that's like that memorable, but it's just a solid entry to a solid show. Let me know, though, what you thought of this episode. I love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment and try to respond as many as I can. Please subscribe. It helps in so many ways. You have no idea. I'm trying to hit 30K subscribers for this Rotten Tomatoes application coming out soon. That would help me in so many ways. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.